Hey, after years in business, people often ask me, what are the habits that have made the biggest difference in your life and in your business and in your success? Here's what I've learned. Success is created and shaped by what we do every single day. So today's episode is about sharing what daily disciplines have made a difference to me and what they are. Stick around.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Schin.
Hey, welcome back to the Franchise Pitfalls and Profits podcast. I'm Don Schin, as the intro just told you. And so again, I really appreciate you being here. I have been thinking lately a lot about what people often ask me. And again, that is what has been some of the big pieces and the big things that have contributed to your success. What do you do routinely, or what do you do as a habit that has really made a difference? And obviously, after 26 years in franchising and going on 50 years in business, successful corporate career as well, I've got some of those, and I thought it would be really, really helpful to you all for me to share it. Now, I am not saying that I have figured it all out. I am not saying that these things will work for you necessarily. I'm just going to share things that work for me. The things that I've done every single day that I think has been having some of the biggest impact on the ultimate results I get in my life and in business. And again, I think it's worth sharing. Take what works for you, leave the rest. So when I look back, there's a handful of what I really like to call disciplines, much less really habits. I'd rather call them disciplines that I think quietly have shaped who I have become. And they didn't change me overnight. They didn't shape me overnight, or even in a week, or probably very little even in a month. They are not dramatic, dynamic events. They were simply things that I did over and over, day in and day out. I have said for a long time a common quote, and I don't know who to attribute it to, but a common quote about the people that are most successful in this life are doing the things that most people don't want to do, and certainly don't do. So I think, to me, this is how success works. Um, yeah, we're always driving for that big opportunity, that big breakthrough. But I really think it's the small choices, the small decisions that quietly move us in the right direction. And again, as I've been talking a lot about this year, about who we become, I think these are the choices and the decisions and ultimately the disciplines that make me who I have become. So again, today I want to share these with you. I want to share what I think is working. Again, take what helps you, leave the rest. Hopefully you get one or two or three real good nuggets out of today. And I'm going to encourage you at the end, to find one or two and try it. Try it consistently. Be committed to doing it consistently. Because if you do the same thing over and over, you don't do anything different, you do the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same results. The old definition of insanity. So let's take a look at this. And again, I call them daily disciplines. And in preparing for talking to you today, I have broken these down into, or organized is a better way to say it. I've organized these into four simple areas that shape just about every area of my life every single day. So that's what I'm going to share with you. The four areas, and then I'm going to give you a whole bunch of the examples that are the actual disciplines. So we're going to talk first about how I start my day. I believe I experienced it personally that I can get through a lot of challenges. I can overlook a lot of things. I can show some grace at times when I get my day started right. So, we're going to talk about starting the day. The next thing I'm going to talk about is how I approach and manage the day. The third thing we're going to talk about it simply is how I continually learn and feel that I'm growing, that I know I'm doing things that I learn and grow, and I'm doing things that assure me of that every single day. And then I'm going to talk about resting, reviewing and resting, and basically the end to the day. How do you end a day to get the most out of that whole day? So again, none of this is rocket science. None of this is complicated. It is simply my collection of small intentional choices and decisions that over my years have made a big difference for me. So let's get started. That's enough setup or framing. The first thing I want to talk about is starting the day intentionally. For me, the day actually begins before the day actually begins, before my feet hit the floor, before I'm out of bed. What I do is thank the Lord. Actually, I think gratitude is deeper than a thank you. So I simply talk to God a few minutes max, and I am simply starting the day grateful for the blessings that He has done. If you are not religious, you can still be grateful. That is not necessarily has to be connected to God or religion. If you are, that is scripturally based about thanking God for the blessings He's already done. So before I even have breakfast, but certainly before emails and screen time and the news, before checking my texts for anything that came in overnight, before checking the news on my device, I'm just grateful. And it changes my mindset for the day. So the next thing I do is I head for the gym. After breakfast, I head for the gym. And this is, I think, a really, really important part of my routine. And it's not because I'm, trying to become buff or any kind of bodybuilder. I'm not going through a midlife crisis. I'm way past that. It's because I think taking care of my body is critical to my daily successes, my overall success. Clearly, it's connected to my longevity in life. It clearly relates to my energy levels for the who I want to be to others in my life. And again, if you're religious or you believe in God and you have a relationship with God, I think, well, I know taking care of your body is biblically based because how we take care of our body matters to God. So what do I do at the gym? Again, nothing rock science per se. You can go Google fitness or workouts at the gym, and you can go way off to one pendulum, way off one end of the spectrum, and go crazy. I certainly try to mix things up, but I do cardio, I do resistance. But one of the keys that I do that I think is really, really important is I make sure that I stretch. I try to stretch for about 10 minutes, sometimes a little less. Sometimes, if I have extra time, I'll stretch longer. But I try to get at least 10 minutes of stretching in. Um, I know it improves my blood flow. I know it improves my energy. I know it improves my physical flexibility. I know it reduces the chances for injury. It prepares me for my workout. But honestly, overall, the stretching and the working out, the cardio and some resistance, again, I believe it gets my blood flowing, it gets my mind working, and it prepares me for the day. One other thing that while I'm at the gym, actually whatever I'm doing at the gym, I made a commitment numerous years ago to increase the amount of time I spend in my faith. Again, you can do it just in podcasts and things, just to make yourself better, personal improvement. You could do whatever, but I always have my, not these in, but I have my Apple earbuds in, and I am always listening. For me, typically, I'm listening to a sermon or some podcast of an author that I like. Occasionally, I'll do an Ed Milet, personal improvement kind of thing. And so really, really important that I get a double whammy help here. I'm listening and preparing my mind for the day while I'm also working on my body for the day. Now, after that comes my time in prayer. Again, you can call it meditation, but I spend time with God. I spend time in meditation. It's amazing how, and I check this with my Fitbit, it's amazing how just slowing down, uh, meditating, focusing on something other than yourself. Again, for me, there's also prayer time in there. It's amazing how your heart rate goes down. I can actually kick my heart rate down into 60 or less beats per minute. So, so for me, if I don't intentionally start my day like this, I can feel it all during the day. My day ends up controlling me instead of me controlling my day. My day ends up leading me often down some paths and some negativity and things that if I do all that I just shared with you first, I never go down those rabbit trails. So I don't think you accidentally have a good day. I think you choose how you begin it. And again, for me, that start to the day, starting it well, just makes the whole day go smoother. And I know it's helping me mentally and physically. Okay, the second thing is to win the day. I think one of the biggest changes that I've made over recent years is replacing a traditional to-do list with a what I must accomplish today list. Yes, I still have a to-do list, but I've got mine coded in a way, and I order it weekly in a way that I know each and every day what I've got to get done, kind of non-negotiables. And so there's a difference. What do I want to accomplish versus what I have to do? I think there's a big difference. This is a must-do list if you want to call it something, and it's not 10 or 12 things again like a traditional to-do list. You may have a dozen things you've got to do today, but what do we want to accomplish today? And I think that's 3, maybe 4 things a day tops. And you've got to do it before the end of the day. The discipline has to be these must be accomplished before I do other things, but in particular before I end my day. So I do this in a way on a weekly basis, which is next week's episode. Okay. But these are things that are going to move the ball forward, to use a sports analogy. These are things that more often than not, if you really want to do this well, are things that are connected to what matters most to me. Purpose. What is the purpose? What are the bigger than me things? So these are absolutely, you want to be sure in that what I've got to accomplish is connecting to your bigger purpose. And here's something that might surprise you. If those 3 or maybe 4 tops things are finished by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's okay to stop the day. Yeah, maybe you have some other isolated to-dos that you want to be sure you get done, but really there are absolutely going to be days when you have to stay much longer than a traditional business day to get the accomplishments done. So on occasion, give yourself permission. End the day when this must accomplish list is completed. I hope that makes sense. Um, Other days, you've earned the satisfaction of knowing that you've accomplished what's mattered most. That's at the heart of this as well. Mentally, you know you are connecting to again moving the ball down the field, but in particular connected to what is bigger than yourself. Another habit in these disciplines that I've developed is simply getting away from this thing, getting away from the screen every couple of hours. I think we get locked onto this screen, and we never want to break that lock, or we don't have the key to unlock us from this screen, or maybe it's one of these screens. The bottom line for me is, we sit and we stare and we grind. And what I do is intentionally during the day, every couple of hours, if I've caught myself like, wow, I haven't stood up for a while, I will literally, weather permitting, I will go outside, even weather not permitting. I'll go out under a place where I have a porch and I'll stand there and listen to the rain. Or if it's nice weather, I'll go out and catch some rays, as we used to say. I'll do it for 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. Sometimes I pray, sometimes I just meditate, sometimes I just listen to the birds and the bees, sometimes I just watch life go by. But I think it's really, really important to do that, to break away, to break the monotony, break the focus in this case, because it's a lock-in thing. It lets your mind breathe almost. And it's something we don't think about a lot, but it's something that I am very, very deliberate about doing. Getting up and getting out. Now, kind of a spin off of that is I actually take a lunch break, if you will. I think you've got to be consciously nourishing your body in the right way. So I don't skip meals. Very, very rarely would I skip a meal, maybe if I'm fasting. But I'm not spending lunch in my office. I'm not spending lunch on my keyboard. I'm not, wolfing down a couple of spoonfuls of something while I'm, knocking out an email. I don't do that. I literally step away from the office. I get out of the office, I turn the light off, and I go have something to eat. Our bodies and our minds were never designed to run nonstop all day. So again, I'm encouraging you to take these kind of mid-morning and mid-afternoon breaks, but I think lunch is a easy and big and necessary way to kind of break things up and get away from the grind. Another thing I do is, do you remember the TV show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I think it was Regis Philbin, and then some other guys. In there, they had a thing called Lifelines, and one of those was phone a friend. And my idea, and I'm not 100% always do this, but my idea is to reverse that order. Instead of phoning a friend for a lifeline, something that you need to know, or you need, I'm calling them just to check in on them. I'm calling that to encourage them. I'm calling to see what's going on with their life right now. I'm calling them to check in. I'm calling them to kind of break their daily pattern and take a few minutes away. There's no agenda necessarily. I'm not talking business specifically or intentionally. I am just checking on them. And the funny thing is, when and again, I don't know about you, but for me, when I encourage someone else, I just feel good. And when I feel good, I do better. I'm better at what I do when I feel good. So that's the last one in the second category here. My third category is feed the mind. And I'm going to be honest, I like all of these, but in particular in this one, I'm going to be honest, I'm not always perfect in this. I'm kind of feast or famine in the one area of reading books. I will go crazy reading books for 6 months, 8 months, And then all of a sudden, I don't know, sometimes it's I can't find the right book. Um, I don't know. Sometimes maybe it's just my daily schedule, but sometimes I just almost stop, or I'll read a little bit of something and then put it down. Um, but think about reading, and I think the average book is probably a couple of hundred pages, maybe 225. And if you think about, and this is what I try to do, I try to always, when I sit down, I try to read a minimum of 10 pages. Because if you think about reading 10 pages a day for books that are around 200, 225 pages, you're going to read probably close to 20 books, 18, minimum of 15 or 16 books. When's the last year that you read 20 different books? Think about that. Um, have you even read 10 in a year recently? I think most of us don't. The cool thing is, that old saying, leaders are readers. And I think it's important. Leaders never stop learning. And so the day we stop learning is often the day we stop growing. So reading is a key to this, keeping my mind fresh and my mind moving. So we have started now. So before I get into the fourth one, let me just review. We've started our day intentionally. We're winning the day, and we're feeding our mind. So the last area I want to talk about is what I simply call release and rest. Over the last couple of years, I have become much more intentional overall about slowing down and being present. And so we'll probably talk about that in the next episode. Um, so I don't want to work late. Once in a while maybe you got to do it, but I don't want to work into the every evening late. I used to do that. That's why I know I don't want to do it anymore. That's why I know it doesn't really help anything, or doesn't certainly doesn't help me. Um, I don't want to spend the last couple of hours of my day thinking about work. So what I try to do is simply shut things down. Not necessarily totally check out, but I'm just shutting down all of the daily stuff, good stuff, but certainly the chaos. And I do it at a reasonable hour. I try to do it at 6, but I'll almost always do it by 7. Certainly not much later than that. And I simply am starting to slow down. I'm starting to relax. And I believe that this prepares me for something that we continue to learn more and more about every year, and that is the incredible importance of a good night's sleep. Um, Again, I'm not going to be here. This is not about teaching you teaching you good sleeping habits. That is not my intent here. But what I simply want to say is a good night's sleep has been proven time and time again to overall help us, help our bodies, and help our minds. So this is another discipline. And what I've read, and you can read different things, but what I've read is that it's important to go to bed at the same time each night. That this gets your body in a rhythm that's going to help you sleep better. And again, how many hours you sleep and all of those things are very unique to each one of us individually, but it's important to get a solid night's sleep. Now, one last piece is before I fall asleep, and some nights I'm like going fast, okay? But what I do before I sleep is I just review the day. And I found to do this, I used to do it, I used to have this visual of cleaning off my desk of all the work, even if it's tomorrow's work, I'd find a place to put it in my mind, and the desk is perfectly empty, clear, cleaned off. And I would like see myself mentally putting things in file drawers, filing it and closing it, and then going out of my office door and closing it behind me. That was one of the ways years ago I used to wrap up my day and try to shut it all off before I slept. I don't want to be thinking about work while I'm sleeping. But what I've started to do in the last year or so is not, again, it's not about how much did I accomplish. I can do that in my waking hours. Instead, what I'm really thinking about, and it's connected to that bigger purpose. It's connected to something that is bigger than me. I think about, did I live the life that I want to live? Did I do it today? Did I act like the person that I'm trying to become? And so that's the checklist, if you will, on a daily basis. So every night I go through a series of questions, and here they are. And if you feel free to write them down if these will help you in any way as well. I say first of all, did I worship? Now worship, again, this podcast can't get into all of this stuff. There's different ways of looking at what is the equivalent of worship. So you define that, but I say, did I worship today? Second thing I say is, I ask is, did I learn and did I grow today? A third thing I ask is, was I shaped today? I really, really want to be shaped. Again, it's my religious beliefs. I want to be more like Jesus. So, was I shaped at all today? To be able to look a little bit more today, at the end of today, like Jesus than I did yesterday. Another one I ask is, did I serve others? You talk about servant leadership and so forth and so on. In my church, we talk a lot about putting others first. But again, you could be a servant leader regardless of your religious beliefs. Did I serve others today? Do I have deliberate, intentional areas that I know I gave of myself? A second to last thing I ask is, did I reflect the love of God today? I was just on a call trying to get an insurance claim processed, and I could feel myself getting a little worked up because it wasn't going quite like I think it should go. But I didn't go into my old mode. I stayed true. I don't know that I necessarily reflected the love of God, but certainly in my mind, I was more godly today than I have been historically in my life over a scenario like this. And then the last one I asked myself is, did I have moments where I just experienced joy? Was I joyful today? So those are the areas that are most important to me, connecting me with my bigger purpose and connecting me with things that are bigger than myself. And that's why I like to go over those. And did I live these things out today? Now, I don't get myself bent out of shape. I don't, beat myself up uh, if I didn't. There are times when I've maybe done 4 out of the 6 really, really well, and that's okay. If I really feel like I missed the boat today, I ask for forgiveness, and know God will forgive me, and I'll move on to tomorrow. We always do have tomorrow. So if you didn't do it the way you wanted to live today, you've got, God willing, we've got a second chance tomorrow. So, that's how I close my day. I rest, I review, and I just release things so that my sleep, I believe, is deeper and more comfortable. And I will tell you, I sleep through the night, and I sleep really, really well with that releasing of my day. But it's connected to who I want to be, and it's connected to being the best I can be and living the life the way I want to live my life. So let me just wrap up. Over the years, none of these disciplines changed my life in a week. I'm talking about daily. They certainly didn't change my life in a day. None of them created overnight success. I didn't have overnight success, but combined, added up and put together, over time, with the factor of time, they have quietly shaped me into who I have become and who I want to be. And I think that's one of the greatest lessons that business can even teach us. Certainly, life does. We're always looking for some big opportunity or some big breakthrough. We're looking for that one big right decision. But I think most of a successful life is built on ordinary, day to day decisions and choices, and one at a time. But when they are repeated consistently and they are put together and added up, they add up to successful lives. So I hope you've got a nugget out of what I shared. This is a pretty personal. This is a pretty personal podcast today. Again, take what suits you. Let go of the rest. But at the end of this all, I really want to challenge you to find at least one of these things and apply it, do it consistently, and then see the results that you get. Again, I'm Don Schin. My life's mission is to radically and relentlessly give value and help people become who God created and intended them to become. So come back next week, and I am going to talk about the broader, bigger, longer term disciplines that I use in order to be successful. See you next week.